Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for this video. I'm going to show you how to do a stitch that's called Peyote with a twist, and that's a rope stitch that you can do with a lot of different kinds of beads. For my demo, I'm going to be using a size 8 seed bead, which is probably the easiest to get started, but that said, a lot of beads are going to work and look very beautiful in this design. And this is a very cool stitch. It is not one that I invented. I learned it from Geraldine Lenz, not directly, but through tutorials produced from her work. And we know with so many stitches like herringbone and peyote, like we don't really know who invented them, but this is a case where we do. And again, that's Geraldine Lenz, and I'll put links to things that you can find work that she's done in the description for this video, just to give her credit for this very cool stitch because it's very neat. And I don't know, it's super genius. So I'm not sure how she came up with it. I don't think I could have, my mind wouldn't have put peyote together that way. But once you get it, it's really not tricky and it makes total sense. It's just you got to get through that first step. So let's do that together, and I will show you how I got this far on my design. I'm going to finish this out and have it be a whole necklace, and I'm going to use SilverSilk pipe chain as my medium to suspend it. So this one has a little bit of ways to go, but I'm going to start a new one in this video to show you how to get started. So let's set this one aside for now. And I'm going to show you the mix that I'm using, which is available in my shop currently while I'm filming this. I had a lot of them, so it's probably still there even now. But it is a size 8 check seed bead mix, and it has a lot of different colors in it. And my suggestion for colors, if you're working with just any beads, is to select a standout, vibrant, or highly contrasting color and have that be your edge bead. Let me actually bring this back over one sec to show you. So do you see how I used the very darkest bead in my mix because it was the one that I figured would stand out the most next to the rest of the mix as a way to keep track of the edge. That becomes kind of helpful, especially when you're just getting going. And it starts out as a regular flat peyote stitch. So to accomplish that, and again, this stitch can be done with different counts and to different starts. I'm going to show you a 10 bead start just because it's easy, makes a nice rope that fits my pipe chain. And so that's kind of where I went with that. But you can do other counts as well are going to work. Even count is helpful. I don't know. I have not personally tried odd count. So that being said, I don't know if it works in this or not. It probably does. Everything does. But this is even count. And I'm going to start with the bead in my mix that I feel has the most contrast. So in this case, it's going to be my dark pine. And then I'm going to string 8 of any of the other colors just randomly. Here's 4, 5, 6. Oops, 6, 7, 8. So string those. Let me just push these out of the way really quick. And so I'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then just end that with one more of your contrasting beads. And so you should have something that looks like that. So again, a total of 10, and you just want to start and end with a vibrant bead. And in case I forgot to mention, I did create some diagrams for you, and there's a link to that PDF available free on my website in the description to this video. So you should be able to find that. And I'm going to bring my camera down just a little so it's a little easier to see. So we're going to do regular peyote stitch at first, and we're just going to keep this pattern going. So starting with the darker bead, skip that last bead, go through the next one. And with the round seed beads, sometimes the peyote doesn't instantly pop together, but you're just going for a regular peyote stitch start. So try to get it to look like that. And pulling working a tail thread apart really helps. I like doing that. And now you're just going to string using the other colors, skipping a bead and going to the next bead to the end of the design, or to the end of the row, sorry. Not at the end of the design yet. We have a ways to go before we're there. And I have this method of skip a bead, go through the next bead, and then I like to just, in one swoop, just pull working and tail threads apart. And often you'll get pretty good especially if you're not working with a pattern because it will spin on you a little bit, but you'll get a pretty tight start. And with a round seed bead, don't worry, it's going to be a little wonky. They're just always kind of like that. But so there we go. Let's just tighten that up one more time. Show you what I've got so far. So yeah, there it is. Little peyote stitch start there. It definitely gets better as you keep going. So let's add another. Oh, you'll want to add, when you start, you want to start with your darker color and then just go through the up bead. And let's finish this row. Working with any other color except for the one you excluded to be your edge. And if it spins on you like this, you see how my peyote start spun? And this is clearly the bead that I just added. You can turn it. All right, so I'm going to tighten this side. And I'm going to tighten that side. So you should have something that looks like that. That's 4 rows. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. A total of 4 rows. We're going to keep going. We're going to try to get a total of 11 rows. And so just work even count, single bead peyote like we're doing right here, until you have a total of 11. And in the diagrams that I'm providing, you'll see that sketched out flat. And then it'll help to see that for the next steps that we're about to do. All right. So again, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beads on one side and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means you have a total of 11 rows with a 10 bead start, even count peyote. So far, so good. Flat stitch. All right, so here on the screen, what you're going to see is a diagram of where we are, and that's indicated as number 1. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to go through the bead that is labeled as number 2. And think of it this way. So what's the next step from number 1 if we were just carrying on with a flat stitch? Well, we'd be adding one of those darker colored beads and starting a new row. And in this case, that's exactly what we're doing. We're just going to use that bead, the one that's labeled as number 2. From there, you're going to head left again through the bead marked number 3, which is the essentially is the bead you would go through if you were adding a new bead, right? You would pick up a bead after leaving bead 1 and you would go through bead 3. And that's all we're doing here is we're picking up a new bead, but that new bead just happens to be that upper corner one in the upper left-hand corner. We're just bringing it down and we're keeping left turns, right? So we're heading that way in the work, or sorry, as far as the videos, this way in the work. Anyway, let me get you back to the mat. We're just going to start a new row. And we're starting a new row by picking up a new bead and going through the next up bead. So our next up bead is this one, right? This one right here. You would pick up a new bead and you would just go through it, right? But we're going to use that bead as our new up bead. And then after we do that, we're going to just go through this bead, carrying on to heading to the left so we can finish that row, which we'll do. We'll finish that row with a bead in each of those spots, right? So let's do this together. Go through that bead right there. We'll let it go ahead and come into a cannoli shape at this point. And then you'll see, if you look at it flat again, the bead you need to go through is this one, right? So just keep your eyes on that bead. We know we want to go through it. That one right there. And I added thread because my thread is a little short, so it's a little long now. But there you go. So you see how that connected? Now keep your eyes on this bead. And the reason I say that, keep your eyes on this bead, is because we're going to be going back through it on our way back. So tighten that one more time. And this is the one right here that we just joined to, right? We're going to be going back through that same bead when we make our trip back. But before we do that, we need to finish the row this way. So you'll want to pick up a bead and go through the next up bead. And do this to the end of the row. And it's round now, so it's a little harder to visualize, but we're still doing the same thing we were doing before. We're just going through those same beads, which are up beads. And I'm just gonna throw in a little lock turn here. This is where you just go back through, come back up to the adjacent, just to make that all nice and tight, which has the added effect of locking in everything all the way back to here, which is what we want. And just take a quick look. You're going to see from here, we're going to be picking up a new bead, going through the next up bead, right? We're going to do that all the way to here. When we get out of this up bead, we'll have a new bead and we'll need somewhere to go. That place is going to be right here. And then we'll turn and we will head back through this bead and we'll join the new bead that we just added. And that's the only thing that I think is a little bit different from a regular flat stitch, because at this point, essentially what you're doing there is, you could kind of say it's a step up, really, because if you visualize it that way, let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to pick up a bead here, go through the next up bead, and then just keep doing that to the end of this row. So we pick up a bead, go through the next up bead, here's the next one. All right. So here's where you want to just pay a little extra attention. You want to pick up one bead, and the place you want to go through is that bead that we joined to. So it's that one right there. So if you look really close, actually, you can see the bead we're skipping, its thread is coming out and going right into that bead. It's another way you can tell which is the right one. Once you get through this one, you're golden. The rest of them are going to kind of you'll just know it. For some reason, it's only this first one that I feel like you have to study. Anyway, so we're through that bead. Now turn and go through the next one. Just think of this as like a step up, right? Go right through that. And then go back through the bead we just added. It's an important one. You're going to have to do that every time we do one of the rows on this side. You can even call it a turn. I'm not sure. Step up, a turn. It's not odd count, but it's definitely a turn of some kind. I'm going to just tighten this side again, sorry. You could also put a stop bead there. I had failed to do that, so I'm constantly tightening it, but I don't know what my aversion to even putting a stop bead on is, but yeah, so there it is. Essentially, you'll have something that looks rather symmetrical, see? And you might be wondering, well, can I work from this side and keep going? Yes, you can. So you can leave a super long tail. You would just start stitching and you would work out from these, right? My working side's over here, so I'm just working out from this side. Let's put on another row, and I can show you that next step again. So let's go through there. Pick up a bead. So we're picking up a bead, skipping the down bead, going through the up bead. Good old peyote stitch all the way to this end. And I am following my convention of just using those lighter colors in the mix. So far, so good. And I do like to do these lock turns. I think they help a lot. All right. So here's my new bead. Pick up a bead, go back through the last up bead. And I'm going to just carry on like that. Whoop. Sorry, it's I'm on a bead on it board and my thread catches the edge and just throws that thing into outer space. So bead, next bead. All right. Okay, so from here, so you see we've just been doing regular peyote stitch, and you do want to maintain a little bit of tight tension. And that's one of the things the locking turns really helps with, to be honest, is it really, really helps. And I'll show you on this side, if you feel like doing a locking turn on this side, you can. But the turn tends to just do it for you anyway. So we need one more bead. Here's one more bead. And you see we're exiting from that up bead. We're skipping this. This is the down bead. And we're going through the bead that it is joined to. See, this one is just right. There's a little thread there. We're going to share that one with it. Basically, it's your next up bead. See? And now here's where you're doing something a little bit different. In this case, we're going to turn and go through this one. It's the same thing we did before. It's different than regular step up, but sorry, I misspoke a little there. And then back through that bead we just added. And you want to maintain tight tension, because for sure things are going to move around a little bit on you. A convenient place to do a lock turn here, if you felt like you needed one on this side, is you could just go through that adjacent bead. I don't think I really do that. I think I just really pull tight. But if you felt like you needed it, there's nothing wrong with doing a lock turn in that position as well. It puts everything together really nicely. Let's do one more row so you just get the feel of how it goes, and then I'll show you one that I worked ahead. There's one. And sorry about that little knot there. I joined some thread earlier and it was just getting in the way a little bit. All right, lock turn. There we go. This really is kind of a tricky one to demo, but it's not a tricky stitch if you, once you get the anatomy of it happening, and then I feel like it kind of makes sense. It's worth a try. Don't give up if you don't get it the first try. Just keep going, because it definitely, there's a moment where it clicks for me, and I think that will happen for you as well. All right, and so we're back to that spot where something is a little different from regular peyote. You pick up a bead and just take a close look at it. And you really can see that the peyote configuration here is that this bead right here, which is the down bead that we're going to skip, you can see it's sharing these two beads, right? This is the up bead right here. I do feel like it'll jump out at you, especially if you're using that contrasting color. You'll see it. And so there's that up bead. And now we need to get heading in the other direction. So call it a step up, call it a turn, but we're just going to go through that adjacent contrast bead and then head right back through the one you just added. And then you guessed it. Make the rest of the row, work the row back, and then you'll be going through, coming out of, and then heading back through the new bead you had. If you keep going from this, eventually what you're going to get is a pretty long piece. And as you're adding, so this is my tail side over here, as you're adding beads, the new beads you add on this edge become the ones that you join to as you get going. So it just keeps going like that. You'll just be building out and out and out. And every time you add a new one out here, you'll always be about 4 or 5 steps ahead. And it just keeps going. It does take a while, but once you get it done, you end up with a relatively flexible rope that looks a lot like crochet. And so if you're like me and the crochet with beads is still tricky for you, certainly still tricky for me, you end up with something that kind of looks like it. And so the rows are going to look no different than what they are here on our starting sample. And you just keep going. You do your lock turn. And start a new row. So in the shop currently, if you're watching this around May 2025 or so, I currently have the mix I'm using in the shop. It's called the Sweet Greens Mix. It's an 8-0 check seed bead mix I made myself. You can find that at daniellewickesjewelry.com. There's a companion one to it called Petals Pop. That's also really pretty. You could do that for this. Here's our turn. See? Both of those mixes are really great options for this design. There it is. So you just keep going like that. And it is definitely, it's a little bit unintuitive at first, and then it just clicks. There'll be this moment where you'll just totally click. Keep going for whatever length you want. I think I'm going to take this out to where I have at least 4 of these. Like if you can count 1, 2, there'll be 3, 4. And I'm going to string it onto my pipe chain. It's going to be so pretty when it's done. So I'll get that done for you, and then we'll put some findings on the pipe chain. Right, so I've achieved the length that I was going for a part of a necklace that just kind of works around the front of the neck. And I wanted to show you how many beads I used from a 20-gram bag. So this is the 20 grams that I started with. What's left of it is in this bag. And again, that was the Sweet Greens mix and Sweet Greens mix. And then here's the finished length, 6 inches. So yeah, 2 bags would get you easily 12 inches. And you can see I have a lot left. The only thing I would say is that it's consuming the colors that aren't the main faster. So you're going to end up with a bag of like all of the dark green left if you work the same color combination that I have. But that's okay. That still works. And so what I'm going to show you now is how to finish it. So I have left enough tail on each end to just use for weaving in. And if you like the look of this as an end, which I think I do, meaning you finish on one of the steps that you stop, from your thread's either going to be here starting a row or here ending a row. And I think this looks good as opposed to this, where it kind of feels like there's just a bead hanging out, it's just kind of like stuck hanging out in space there. So I'm going to weave in this side, and then I'm going to put this needle over here on the tail side. We'll do one more row and weave in that side. Great. I'm just going to let it be like that. I'm not going to finish it anymore because it's going to look really cool on the pipe chain. And then on this side, I'm just going to go ahead and put one more row on. So I need to add a few little beadies here. Not many. I just need some of the non-contrast colors. So there's 1, 2. Let's get some more up here. 3. All right, and 4. There you go. So that looks great. So let me show you weaving in really quick. What I did is I went back through and reinforced this edge. And just kind of like that. And then I just started heading down through some beads. It might try to hug the whole rope when you're doing this. That's what mine just did. There we go. And if at any point you feel like you want to go reinforce something, you can make turns like that to get there. I feel like I want to reinforce this connection here. Yeah. Okay. Just going to weave around. get through a few beads on this side and call it. There's really not, at least I don't know of a way I think of that would be knotable, to do a knot in a design like this because of the way that the thread is running through the beads. I feel like it would make some kind of a, maybe something you're not going for. And that looks good there, so I'm going to go ahead and burn it. Might need to charge that. Okay, so setting my needle aside just for a second, I'm going to show you how to put the pipe chain on. And just going to get some of these away really quick. And like I was saying at the end, you're going to have a bag that's mostly the dark green if you worked this pattern the same way I did, which is okay. You'll have a bunch of nice green beads at the end. So I'm using pipe chain for this one. Don't know exactly what length I want yet, but super easy. I'm just going to feed it through. There we go. And try it on. And so right now it's looking like that. Let's see how it looks. So I'm going to put it on. And I think that's about the length I'm going to want. I literally just picked it up, tried it on, and decided what looked good. So I'll just trim it right there. Save this for the next one. And let's put on some findings. So I was thinking silver. What do you guys think? I'm going to get some silver findings. And so here's my silver findings. These are single strand end caps. I'll link everything in the description for you. And on the end of my pipe chain, I'm just going to go ahead and pull some of the little weedies off of it. Those. Everything's looking good there. All right. So there they are. There's my beautiful findings attached to the end of my pipe chain. There's my beautiful necklace. And it's all set. So I'm going to just try it on. So open that lobster claw on one end. I went ahead and did two jump rings on each side, which added a little bit of length, but I feel like that's okay. And there you go. So let's see. I'm going to bring it a little closer so you guys can see it. Just push this out of the way a little bit. But yeah. So, I mean, it looks really cool. It's got a definite, let's see, the light's not so good if I do that. Let's make that light better. There we go. I want you to be able to see how cool it looks. It's really neat. I'm going to be just like wearing all my jewelry today. I made two things. I made a bracelet and a necklace. Earlier, I did a netted rope with Super Duo on a leather knitted chain, which was so gorgeous. Now I just like have my whole weekend set. But there it is. Yeah, let me give you another quick view of it on the mat. And then I can let you go to try making your own beautiful design. And I'm so curious what colors you would choose. Isn't that cool looking? That's so neat. And of course, you can take this to lots of places. You can make it lots of different things. You can become a bracelet. I think it would also be really beautiful just going all the way around the neck, which would take a long time. It would take a lot of beads, but it's definitely worth it because it will look very cool. And I know lots of folks do patterns that you can find. So now that you know the stitch, you can go find patterns and work those. Try 11-0. That'll take a long time to finish, but it'll be very intricate, very delicate looking when it's done. Also might make a very lovely bracelet. But there's my beautiful pipe chain for summer. Peyote with a twist necklace. All right, I'll see you for the next one. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.